Good afternoon, class. Yes. So, a lot of people are here. Let me check. Alka, Ashmita, Bharat, Jyotirmoy, Neetu, Rajlakshmi, Sanjana, Shobhik. Okay, fine. Good. Now, Maisa is also there. Fine. So, how are you all? Welcome to my class. Good afternoon, Maisha. Good. I'm good. Acha, just tell me, you have completed your project, right? The projects you have completed. Good. I don't know whether I will be able to give another project for this year or not. So maybe this will be your final project. So please kindly make it in such a way that it should look very nice. You know how you can do it. You have seen your previous years projects and how your seniors have done it. So the thing is that if your project is good, if your project is presented in a nice manner, very neat and clean, in a very innovative way, then it's obvious that if there is an external, I don't know that whether this year external examination will be possible or not, but still the thing is that if the external comes, then it will be the first thing which impresses the external. So as I told you also that in some of last year, in some of the cases, the external did not ask any question to the students. She did not ask any question to the students from the chapters. She asked that how you have made the project so beautifully, right? But that doesn't mean that you will not study at all. That doesn't mean this. But yes, I don't know whether it will be possible for us to give you another project for this year or not. Let me talk to sir. But please consider the project which you have done as the one of the final projects. So please decorate it, make it beautiful and make it presentable, right? Like last year I had very bitter experience with two boys. They don't even had their covers over the projects. They don't even have any headings. They don't even have any pictures. The pictures were rubbish. They did not match with the context. The handwritings were, I should not mention anything about the handwritings. And when the external asked them that why they have done it in such a way, their answers were like, ma'am pressurized us, that's why we have completed it. Otherwise we would have not done this. So this was their attitude. So I hope that those who are following the classes regularly, those whom I know will not behave in that manner, at least they should keep the project in a very nice way. Okay. So and if sir says that I can provide you with another project, then before the puja, I don't know whether there will be a vacation or not, but before the pujas I will give you another one. Okay. Yes, good afternoon Jivanangshu. Fine. So we were discussing about we were discussing about the nationalism in India, and in my last class I have discussed about the revolutionary terrorism or the revolutionary activities of Master Shudra Sen and Bhagat Singh in two corners of the country. One is in Bengal, another is in Punjab, and where they have took a huge part to control their countrymen, to contribute something to the country, and the কি repeat করব আমি জীবনাংশু, what I will repeat? No Jivanangshu, I will not. The video is there, you search in the YouTube, you get the video. Why I will discuss আগের দিনের টপিকটা, and stop writing in Bangla. Stop writing in Bangla. And why you are requesting such things, I really don't know. What do you think, that I am having a joke here? I am cracking a joke here. I have no time. What do you think? Why you were absent? Why you didn't join the call? Why you were not there when we were there? There were 6 other people who joined the class. Why you were not there? What is this, Jivanangshu? Every day I can see that rubbish and ridiculous requests you are making. Is it fair? Online classes are going on, you are not coming to the school, but still you are not able to switch on your mobile or computer sets to sit from your bed and listen to the classes, and you expect the teacher to repeat the whole class again next day. What kind of idiocy is this? What kind of manner is this? If you have missed it, that means you have missed it. There is no point of repeating it. What kind of rubbish things you write? Are you in class 12 or in class 8? If you continue with this, like, I will ask the management and the IT cell that to block you in my class. I will not entertain all these type of rubbish questions in my class. Too much. Okay, so as I was telling that Master Shudra Sen and Bhagat Singh, they contributed a lot in the freedom of our country, but their styles were completely different than Gandhiji or Nehruji or the Congress leaders, right? So what today we will start, we will start the discussion of the beginning of the civil disobedience movement, the second most important mass movement led by Gandhiji. So what happened, I have told you earlier in my classes that in the year 1929 at Lahore Congress session in the month of December, Jawaharlal Nehru has declared that India will now demand only about the Purna Swaraj, that means the complete independence, not a half, not a quarter, not a dominion status or something like that. Okay, dominion status may be a new word for you. Dominion status means that in the states and in the local administrative area, Indians will rule, Indians will have their chances to rule, but actual central government will be in the hand of Britishers. That was known as dominion status. Okay. So, no dominion status, no half, no quarter, nothing but a complete independence or a Purna Swaraj. And he also declared that on 26th January 1930, that day will be declared or celebrated as the Independence Day, right? Whether we get the independence or not, whether we have the independence or not, but we will celebrate the independence. This was his motto. And the same thing happened on the same particular day. That means on 26 January 1930, everywhere in India, the tricolor, tricolor was hoisted, okay, and people sang patriotic songs. They enjoyed it a lot, and the Britishers, they could not do anything. And in the meantime, in the middle of all this situation, Gandhiji was present. But what he was doing? What was his contribution regarding this kind of situation? His contribution was he wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to the Governor General, not the Governor General, he wrote the letter to Viceroy. During 1930, the Viceroy of India was Lord Irwin. So, Lord Irwin was the person to whom Gandhiji wrote a letter. And in this letter, he demanded many things. He told many things along with 11 points ultimatum. What are these 11 points ultimatum? 11 points ultimatum is this, that in those 11 points, Gandhiji demanded each and every important demands. And he said that if Lord Irwin pays attention to these 11 points, then well and good. If Lord Irwin accepts the demands of those 11 points, then well and good. But if not, if he doesn't agree to what Gandhiji has said, then Gandhiji will start a civil disobedience movement. And among his 11 points ultimatum, among his 11 points demands, one of the most important demand was, and it was the first demand, to abolish salt tax. Now, what is the salt tax? Anyone? Anyone? What is the salt tax? Jyotirmoy, Bharat, Rajalakshmi, Neetu, Sanjana. Who is this Orko? Oh, this is Orko Prabhu. Okay, fine. Tax imposed on salt obtained from sea. Yes, very good, Riddhi. So, tax was imposed on salt obtained from sea. But what was the problem? The tax which has to give for its manufacturing. Okay, Jyotirmoy, your answer is correct, but your sentence is not correct. The tax which has to be given. Okay, you have to make it correct. The tax which has to be given for its manufacturing. Okay, Ashmita, the British imposed tax on the salt which we get from seas of India. Okay, fine. Yes, Ashmita, Riddhi and Jyotirmoy, all three you are correct. So, what is the salt tax? That means the Britishers, they told or they imposed a tax on salt. Why? Because they thought that Indians, they pay tax from each and every item they consume except this salt, because salt is easily available. Salt you manufacture, but it is easily available as India has a long coastline. You know that India's southern portion, the peninsula India, is full of the oceans and seas. So there, from the ocean water could be boiled or dried in the sun, then you get the salt from it, because the salt sea water is salty in taste, right. So the Britishers, they started manufacturing salt from Indian sea waters, and then they thought that Indians are not buying those British made salt, because they could easily make salt, and salt is an very important ingredient as well as mineral to Indians. Why? Because India is a country of hot and humid, so through sweat we lose the body salt, and it is essential that through our food we intake some amount of salt every day. Not a huge amount of salt is needed, huge amount of salt is also not good for health, but at a minimum amount of salt is needed for everybody's health. That is why when we collapse, our mothers make a juice of lemon, chini and salt, right? And when we go for operation and everything, we stretch our hands like this, and a channel is made here which is known as saline. Saline is also nothing, only with some of the minerals, it is a salty water which goes inside our body. Okay? So, salt is very important, and not only that, India was a poor country, you know. India was a poor country, India is a poor country. India still is a poor country, and when India or Indians could not have anything to eat, they could eat rice and salt, which means that they didn't have dal, sabji, chicken, mutton, egg, fish. The poorest of poor people, they could not afford to have all these kind of foods, but they used to have the rice and the salt only. Have you ever heard about Kalahandi? Have you ever heard about the name called Kalahandi? Anyone? Very good, Riddhi. It's a place in Odisha. Why it is called Kalahandi? Jyotirmoy is from Odisha na? Jyotirmoy, tell us why it is called Kalahandi? Jyotirmoy, type it fast. No, it's not a desert. It's not a desert, but Kalahandi is a place which is under drought for last 30 years, still continuing. They are not having any rainfall. Their land is now not prepared for anything to grow there, and actually they could not grow anything, the people who live in Kalahandi, and they live on the relief foods which is given to them through different NGOs, different social organizations, through the UNs and lots of organizations. So, Kalahandi is a place, just imagine that we are talking about 21st century, still there is a place in our country where people have not grown food for themselves for 30 years. They are living on biscuits, they are living on all packet goods which is given to them by through a relief fund, because they could not grow. So, that is why their kadais or handis they have made into black, because there is nothing to cook. You cannot cook anything, and if there is nothing, and if you put that vessel on fire, what will be the case? বাড়িতে দেখেছো কোনো দিন মা যখন দুধ বসিয়ে দুধ ভুলে যায়, দুধ উপচে পড়ে যায় এবং পড়ে গিয়ে মা চেঁচায় যে গেল রে দুধের বাসনটা আজকে পুড়ে গেল। What is this পুড়ে যাওয়া? পুড়ে যাওয়া means the vessel become blackened, right? So this Kalahandi is a place where still people are facing a drought, and we are talking about a digital India. We are talking about Apple iPhones and PUBG and TikTok apps, right? And not only that, there is a place in Mednipur, if you have read it about it, I don't know, that there they could not afford to have the andas, means egg. So what they do, the mothers, when the children, the young one, they ask their mom that ma ajke ki ranna hocche, so they say that today we are making egg curry. So they became very happy. Okay, egg curry is become cooking, so we become very happy. And when the egg curry is cooked, there is a writer who writes this. He was a journalist, so he writes that in a plain leaf of a big leaf, it's like anything, a big tree. The rice is given, then a simple rasam kind of, or a jhol jetake amra boli, only jhol is given. The jhol is look like a yellow color water with little bit of salt and little bit of spice is there, and everyone got a piece of anda. So everyone was very happy. They mixed the rice with the jhol and the anda, and they kept aside the anda, and they ate the full rice without touching the anda. After they completed, the writer thought that now they will eat the anda, but no, they took the anda, washed the anda and kept it aside. What is it? It was not at all an anda. It was not an egg. It was a stone, looked like an egg. They could not afford the eggs, so they took or brought stones which look like an egg. They thought that they are having an egg curry with lots of spice, with lots of other materials, aloo and sabji and all, and they are having the rice in a full tummy. This is our India. This is the India we should recognize. So in this case, if this is the scenario, if this is the condition of Indians, how can you expect that in 1930, that is the middle of 20th century, people will be able to pay the salt tax? Till today, 47% people of Indian population is under the below poverty level. How could you expect that the people in 1930 will be able to pay the tax on salt? So as government, British government imposed salt tax on Indian people, the Indian people stopped using salt. So it was like Gandhiji said in his writings, that it was like that the British government was taking the minimum amount of our food habits, the minimum amount of everything from us, which was not accepted. So that's why he started he demanded that he is going to start the civil disobedience movement, right? So I will stop here today, and my next day I will start the civil disobedience movement. So till now, any questions? Write it quickly. No ma'am, no question, Sanjana. Fine. So I'll stop here today, and next day, tomorrow I'll continue from here. Okay? Fine. So bye bye.